Good day, lords and ladies, and welcome back to Door Kickers. Axe and Sword with me, Cornish-knight, and my fantastic co-host, Fuax.
One last go of it.
Yeah, we're going to look at the last sort of like mode of the game, and then, depending on how we feel at the end, we'll probably do like a tier listing on like sort of commentary and review of the game and what we liked about it and what we didn't like about it. So, online co-op. There we go. Infinity Towers, a randomly generated mayhem. Basically, it's basically like the Tower of Babel, of Babel. It's an unending sort of challenge tower. Basically, you just keep going up and up and up.
We'll try and basically show it off, like, you know, with us dying and then going back in so you can see what's different, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Breacher because he's just very powerful.
Note there is hostages, by the way.
There is hostages. Oh, do we have to save the hostages?
It's recommended.
Okay.
I'll give you the the synapse maybe as we get into it, but whatever.
Speed, ammo, reload, fire rate. I might use a different shotgun.
Go for it.
Yeah, let's do the tactical shotgun, see if that's any different.
I think that one's got a clip, so we reload it all at once.
Yeah. Rightio.
Alright, clear out the hostiles.
Ah, there is hostages. Oh well.
Now note by the way, the door basically over here is basically closed off, as well as the elevator. So
okay.
We can't go back down. Floor 2. And note that's basically knowing when we go up a floor, so...
Yeah.
We're starting off with fairly basic guys, but they'll get more challenging as we go along.
Yeah, definitely the Breacher is not good for this.
Oh, I noticed our special power?
Yeah, our special bar isn't going up. I take it we have to rescue hostages.
Yep.
Okay, so you want basically you want precision for this.
At least some, yeah. Because if you don't have any precision, then, like, you're gonna have issues. Note that some of the doors are open, some aren't open, some are, like, tough doors.
Yeah. This definitely favors classes with subtlety a bit more.
We got the bombers.
Yeah, the bombers are starting to turn up. Damn. Shouldn't have shot that person.
In the back of the head, no less.
Make some armor back. Problem is, you see the first guy and you trigger to shoot. Before
Yes, you can use Breacher for Infinity Tower, but it's not the best character for sure.
No. I mean, what I'm having to do is I'm literally having to hold fire as you kick the door open to make sure there's no one in there. Just so I don't hit a hostage, because we need to get the points up.
Taking lots of bad damage, but well.
Yep. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick right close behind you, just so I can like get people that rush.
There's the snitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that sometimes we get a lot of hostages, sometimes we don't get any.
Yeah. You may want to get your armor back up. That's not a good sign.
It's the gimme level.
Yeah.
There's some health for you.
Oh, shouldn't have done that. Well. Is that going to give us enough armor? Yeah. Okay. I mean, the breacher, if you know who's beyond the door, the breacher's really good just to, like, lay waste. Because we're starting to get the armored foes turning up now.
If you don't know who's on our side, then it's a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
I find it funny we haven't used our flashbangs yet.
Reloading. I mean, for that
was a serious fight.
Yeah, for that situation, the breacher is really good because he just puts people down straight away.
I love shield with our big shield, our big armor shield.
Yeah. Sorry. It's you. The problem is you're conditioned now. I'm conditioned now to almost trigger when I see someone with this gun. Hostage killer killed the hostage.
Oh, as long as you didn't.
Nah.
Surprised I haven't seen any bomber dudes.
Yeah.
We're on 418 by the way now.
Not bad. And I died. Okay, that's not great. Didn't realize you'd thrown a grenade. Unless we get this
So we can get Cornish back or not.
Yeah, that's a nasty flaw. You literally used every single bullet you had. Or round you had.
No hostages.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the living.
Thank you, boss.
Oh, note that your flashbangs are back?
Yeah. Sorry, we could probably have got him if we'd flashbanged.
Uh-oh.
Nah.
That was just bad luck.
Yeah.
A little bit of lag.
I'm going to shoot anyone that gets close to you. Just because you can...
Which is basically everyone.
Yeah. Because you can basically save the hostages. That's not good.
There we go. Bombers.
Yeah.
Cornish. Body armor.
Excellent. Oh, that's just not fair.
You aren't dead yet.
No, I'm not dead yet. But I can see them, like... Because you'd think automatically that the off-duty cop would be good for this, but then you'd have encounters like that where literally they would be annihilated. Run away, run away. Because he's going to blow up. That's not good. I accidentally shot the door. Yeah, I think this is where the run's going to end, boss. I don't think we can find enough hostages to get me back up.
See how far I go then. Uh-oh.
Try and hit the barrel, maybe. Kick the bomb towards him, maybe. Man, those melee guys are just obscenely tanky.
I got a sliver of health.
Yeah.
That's all I need. Okay, so next one's gonna start because there's an open door. And, you know, those guys.
Yeah.
We went to floor 24, so let's just go back into it and I'll basically, like, you know, we basically show off, like, you know, how it's different.
Yeah, I'll grab a different class. I mean, the Breacher actually is surprisingly good for it.
He is.
I mean, off-duty... We don't need two off-duties. We need someone that has... Hold on, let me find a weapon that has high armor pen. We'll go with that. Go with flashbangs. Okay. Man, they're a lot more cover happy now.
Oh, I note that it's like, you know, strong guys pick the first level, but they get weaker, like, you know, going to the first level.
Yeah. Choose through your armor, though.
Yay, hostages! Yeah, note that, like, you know, levels look a little bit different because,
Yep.
you know, it's randomly generated.
Randomized, yeah. Reload before going to the next floor. Let's try and lure the enemy because we can kick the door so they'll come towards it so we can... Okay. Get rid of the explosive. They don't seem to be alerted by door kicks anymore.
Oh, I suppose they like to sort of randomly spawn. Well, they don't randomly spawn, but I mean...
Yeah.
I have armor.
So glad we didn't have the breacher in this room. Like early on, the off-duty cop is really powerful.
Plus, because nothing's armored.
Yeah, but as soon as we get armor, well, as soon as armored foes start to turn up, it's going to be a different thing. Remember that you can still kill them with one shot with the aimed mode with his rifle. For most of the early armored enemies.
Now, the only thing I'll say about Infinity Tower is that I really wish there was like more DLC enemies popping up, but
yeah.
Honestly, this is maybe before the DLC came out.
Yeah.
Let's open our bam, you're dead.
Yeah. I mean, everyone becomes more important now. Like, the off-duty guards become more important. Come on, get up. Extra lives becoming more important.
Oh yeah, we can show off extra lives in this mode.
Right, let's clear him out. See, because now we're getting the suicidists that like carry dynamite rather than just a vest, who are more damaging. Watch out for the explosive. Alright, here. Up we go.
That's not friendly.
No.
That's helpful though.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Because we get our armor back. I mean, oh, there was someone hiding. That's annoying. Hiding people.
Well, that's just part of random generation rather than anything else.
That was a nasty encounter. Oh, he's hiding behind cup. See, this is the thing. I don't know if they changed it, but in the base game, like the terrain you could hide behind for cover flashed. Now it doesn't.
It's harder to pick up, yes.
But it's also harder to notice when the enemy is using it. Because you've got no warning that he might be going for cover. Like, I'm just continually crouching now. Because it's one way of bypassing their cover. Do with that armor. Reloading. Ah, that's disappointing. Every hostage lost now is like so much more impactful. That hurt. Didn't even realize it was an elite boss for a second. And that's just mean.
I survived!
Yeah, that was just not a nice encounter.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Do it one more time?
Nah, I'm alright, to be honest.
Well, let's just rate the game.
Radio. I'll put a quick cut in and I'll get it set up to do that. Back with you.
Alright, we'll see you guys in a moment.
Yep.
Take care.
And we're back, folks. So we're going to do our review of the game. Which chapters we preferred, which
characters we liked,
and what our overall feeling of the game was. So we just start off with like our overall feelings for the game first.
Yeah, let's just start there.
Yeah.
So I'll note that I basically bought this game probably a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
maybe a year ago. I can't remember.
Yeah, around
but
that time.
It's been on our radar for a while for like doing a cooperative like play with, because it's just simple, fun. We really get quite a few episodes out of it.
Yeah, and it's not too long. Though considering that we've done like 20 plus episodes at 30 minutes a piece, that's basically 10 hours worth.
Yeah, and that's basically skipping a lot of the free triple starring of like the last levels.
Yeah. I mean, there are other co-op games we could have completed in that time. But yeah. It's a good game, I feel like, for what it is, which is a small indie title. Like, he's like a sort of indie title of a sort of like more well-known franchise. Like sort of a sidestep, because it's basically a sidestep away from the normal Door Kicker franchise, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, Door Kickers is basically you manage a full squad from like top-down view in real time.
It's more like Rainbow Six.
And here it's basically more like,
arcade.
Not Rainbow Six.
Yeah, it's more arcadey in a way. Like
that's by design.
Yeah, it's also more sort of humorous. Well, I believe the original Door Kickers and Door Kickers 2 has much more sort of grounded in reality.
It is.
But yeah, overall, I liked it. I think if I wasn't playing co-op, though, it would probably sort of get a bit repetitive in single player after a while. For me, at any rate.
That's probably the main criticism. They'll probably have all the levels too.
Yeah. Because you've 100%ed percented the game, if I recall correctly, to Fax. You've got all the achievements for it.
Yeah, not only that, I also went back last night to triple star all the professional DLC levels. So
Yeah. And that can be quite a challenge from what I've played of the game, partly because you had to do everything perfect, and especially on the DLC levels where the maps are so big and there's so many hostages, it requires a degree of dedication that I don't think I would personally be willing to invest. Especially since when you're playing single player, just some classes become just unusable if you're trying to do achievement hunting.
and some they require you to use those classes too for challenges.
Yeah, but overall, what was your final view of the game?
A good distraction.
Yeah, a good distraction.
That's basically why I basically suggest is a good distraction from everything else.
Yeah, because you and I tend to play quite a lot more like hard roguelikes, don't we? We tend to play a lot more hard roguelikes and older tactical strategy titles.
Management games, strategy games.
Yeah, where the price for sort of messing up is, I've lost a character that I've been, especially with me when I play a lot of the stuff like The Last Spell, it's like I've had a character that I've been bringing up for like 6-7 hours and now they're dead. And
I had fun doing it.
Yeah, you've had fun doing it, but like it's sort of like the impact is a lot more. Your errors carry more weight, which
but here it's like if you take an error like in 5 seconds, you just okay, I'll just go back here.
Yeah, restart takes most of the game maps up until the DLC were like 4-5 minutes, 7 minutes at most. Like 7 minutes was uncommon, and that was towards the end of the main game. Most of them were like 3 to 4 minutes. So if
you got the DLCs, which were like 8-9 minutes.
Yeah, that was when it started to. I think that was when it started to become less fun for me. Was the sort of really long maps? I could see them becoming really tedious if you were trying to 100% get all 3 stars on the DLC maps.
I think the main problem with professionals is that there's like too many hostage rescue ones.
Yeah, too many hostage rescues and too many hostages on those maps. Because you were like 25, 26, 28 hostages, and you had to
100 guys to kill in the process.
Yeah, and you had like tons of like 70 enemies you had to kill, and some of them because we kept finding on the DLC would be like the snipers or some of the other enemies that were slightly off screen that we couldn't see, but the enemy's detection range was big, would see us and then shoot a hostage before we could do anything. Because that happened to us a couple of times. And it's really hard to counter that. So you end up having to basically metagame and know where the enemy spawn locations are.
Yep. So we're talking about the locations at this point. Shall I do the tier list now?
Yeah.
Alright, so I'll note that basically last night I wanted to make a tier list for the levels based in this game.
Yeah.
And I basically sent a link to Cornish, so you'll probably be seeing that basically on his screen by now.
Yep, you can see it down the bottom.
Basically, I have all those chapters listed from 1 to 8. So you have Gangland, the Radicals, Red Alert, the Big Apple, Cartel Territory, the Challenges, King of the Slums, and then the DLC.
Yeah.
In that order.
Yeah.
Shall we start off the first chapter?
Yeah. First chapter is I think actually the first chapter is actually pretty. It's not a bad chapter for an intro story arc. It does what it needs to do, which is it introduces the core mechanics of the game. You don't have a ton of there's actually no difficult enemies really, and you can breeze through it fairly quickly. In my opinion.
it teaches you the fact that there's guys who can take hostages, or there's guys that will basically interact with hostages. I would say.
Yeah.
But it's not really doing anything too special.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, the first level doesn't have the executioners, the hostage executioners. It just has the sort of
the guys with the black hats. You mean?
Yeah,
they're in the first chapter.
No, I mean the other ones, the ones that basically wear the bandanas.
Those guys with red hoods. They're are they in the Red Alert, or are they in the Big Apple? Red Alert.
I think it's Red Alert. They start turning. They start turning up. The kidnappers, though, it's a nice way of doing it because the kidnappers don't shoot the hostages; they just hold them as human shields and shoot at you. So it
Yeah.
gives you more time to sort of deal with it, and it's a nice way of being introduced to okay, this unit will interact negatively with a hostage. This is how I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I'd probably put it at like the first level. I'd probably put either in a B or a like A category. I mean, it's not mediocre. It's nice, straightforward, and it does what it needs to do, which teaches you how to play the game and how the basic like enemy types work in the
Yeah.
game.
I'd put it at B tier because
Yeah.
even though it does teach you the game, I found it just a little bit too slow in the beginning. Like
Yeah.
you're basically given like two enemies to deal with at the start. Like you have the white guys that are a little pistol and the guys with knives.
Yeah. And
That's like,
then you get
okay.
what the submachine. It's either the submachine gun or the shotgun guy.
It goes submachine gun, then it goes like police shotgun guy.
Then it goes
Then it goes
hostage.
guy with the black hat.
Yeah, hostage taker.
I think somewhere in there you get the guy with the kamikaze shirt.
Yeah, but that's main. I agree with you. B class for the first level for laudable. It's a good map, does what it needs to do, but it's like no frills really. So the radicals. Radicals are when you start to get the more elite enemies. So I believe it's when you get the assault rifle enemies with the green lasers, the elite machete enemies. I believe it's when you start getting the kamikazes, but properly start turning up because they start to turn up.
The bomb diffuser at this point as well.
Yeah, bomb diffuser, and you can actually see the bandana, the red bandana mask wearing guys on red alert. So that must be when they start turning up. But yeah, radicals basically it's when you start. It's when they start to show you, okay, this is the evolved form of the classes. For example, like I'm of the opinion that the assault rifle guy with the green laser is basically the upgraded version of the person in the white shirt, because he does a similar job, which is that he sort of does a lot of damage, but with a slow single-shotted weapon, which is what the guy in the white shirts do. But just less range. The maps are good. Lots of interacting. Lots of ways to get around in the second chapter. Did you notice? The first one tended to be you either go through or you go up.
It's going to be like very linear in the first map.
The second arc tends to have a lot more complex map design. Also, a lot more keycard map rooms and that kind of thing as well, and interactables.
Yep.
So I don't actually have any issue with the second arc. I found it pretty fun. There wasn't a lot of road blockage, like speed bumps in it. We managed to make.
I thought it was basically A tier myself.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was the perfect blend of challenging, but not sort of penalizing the player either. Allowed you to use most of the classes without any issue. I did get the feeling that probably the first 2 to 3 arcs were designed to really allow you to grind your characters to get them up quickly. So
I wouldn't say that. I think you have to play like chapter 2 or 3 for to get really grind your characters. But
yeah. So Red Alert chapter arc 3.
This is where the game starts to get more complex.
Yeah, you get the hostage executioners. You get the more elite enemies like really start to pop up. Like the Molotov
guys with blue shirts and bombs on like hostages and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Molotov Molotov cocktail users. The dogs also start turning up, if I recall, in chapter 3 towards the end.
Maybe it might be the Big Apple.
Yeah, it might be the Big Apple. This isn't the chapter. I can't remember. No, chapter 3 isn't the one that has the aeroplane, is it? That's chapter 4.
I'll just do a quick check and I'll just tell you in a moment.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna jump in and I can at least jump into the game myself on my screen and we can actually look at what chapters are basically there. That's actually something to note, by the way, that I both like and dislike about this game is its progression, like how fast it is.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, considering that most story arcs have 12 missions. You wouldn't want them to be like every mission to be like 8-10 minutes long, because you're looking at basically an hour and a half for each story arc to complete everything. And that's without replay.
Alright, so Red Alert. Red Alert is basically one of Frank and Fnac, so that's basically where we get introduced to the guy with like the red bandana right away.
Yeah.
We got Vertigo, that's basically the one on the rooftops.
So we start to play with the height mechanic in Chapter 3. Yeah, I remember now a lot more of the height.
I know what Chapter 3 is now.
Yeah.
Do you remember the train?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the train.
Doomsday Train.
Doomsday Train, not my favourite map, I'm not going to lie. It's
also the last chapter in like the last mission in the exact chapter, but
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It's frustrating, to be honest.
It's also a good introduction to the fact that, like, you know, yes, we can have very tough missions for you to play.
Yeah, because up until that point, all the missions we'd basically been relatively steamrollering them, and we only had to restart occasionally when, for example, one of us either killed a hostage or someone else killed a hostage.
Yep.
But I found the train mission difficult, but it was difficult in okay, we got a bit unlucky, we'll do better next time. We got it done relatively quickly, considering what was to come.
Yeah, but it's also I find at that point where it's like, you know, they've introduced enough of the missions at this point, or like, you know, enemies at this point, that we actually can have, like, you know, more difficult missions now.
Yeah. So what?
I think I'll say, like, you know, the Radicals, or Red Alert rather. Red Alert is basically probably where it goes fantastic. You know, it is probably one of the best chapters in the game.
Yeah.
It's finally introduced all the elements. It's really trying to put them together into, like, you know, unique ways, make them distinct.
Yeah, I mean, I'd either say excellent or fantastic. I mean, I don't like the train mission per se, but it's hard. But it's hard with, like, it's basically hard because it has a high skill requirement, not because it's deliberately unfair. So I'd say either A or S. It's up to you.
I'd say S myself, but up to you, really.
All
right, then we go to the Big Apple.
No problem. I'll go S because the rest of the levels were really good. The train one, it's skill based, but it's not unfair. So I'll say S. The Big Apple. Now this is when we start getting stuff like
armored enemies, guys that throw grenades.
Yeah, the elite enemies. I will say I did not like how they introduced, like, when you're first introduced to your first boss fight, which is in the Big Apple. I was not, like, a big fan of that, because it's like, oh yeah, you have to rush through a flooded area that insta-kills you if you don't do it quickly enough. And so
I think that might have been actually in Red Alert, that actually the boss guy.
Yeah, well, I didn't like that particular introduction to the boss mobs in the game, because you always came out of that hurt because of how the enemies spawned when you were trying to flee. And then you had to fight, was it 2 of them at the same time, or 1 of them?
I was trying to remember which where we basically are. I think with, like, you know, chapter 4, which are basically on the Big Apple, that's got the bank heist. It's got, like, you know, the vacations or resorts type of things.
Yeah.
It's got secret stronghold. It's got lights out.
Yeah. I mean,
it's also got To the Airport, which is basically the airport mission, which I really love.
What, the airport or the airplane?
The airport, as in, like, you're at the airport, basically, you know, clearing out the many hostages.
Oh yeah, that one. I mean, now that I remember the boss fight, I am going to put Red Alert down to A, because I did not like how they introduced the boss mobs.
You mean the guy who pops out of the door after the water rises?
Yeah. I felt that it was like, because, like, if you're playing single player, you're coming out of that fight always hurt because of how the mobs spawn as you're trying to flee. And then you're like, oh wait, there's an elite enemy we haven't seen before, and he kicks your ass, because that's what basically he did to us. I don't know. I think they could have introduced the boss mobs better on that map. Maybe, like, at the end of the mission where you've got everybody out, and, like, he just comes, like, out at the end and you fight him or something. I don't know.
was going to do a quick check to see if I know which map you're talking about.
It's the one where it floods in the basement.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to figure out where it is. Not this one. That's the thing about it, like, you know, not all these missions are exactly like labeled as to what they basically are.
No, they're not. That's also that's one of the things I disliked as well. Is the fact is you can't go out to the mission screen menu again. If you're in the game, it auto progresses. You can't pop out and pick or go back to a different mission. You have to cancel like the run you're doing and then rehost the game to basic. Which is a bit annoying when you want to basically say, okay, what are the types of missions coming up? Because some characters do not work well on certain mission types.
I found out something about the Red Alert chapters.
Yeah.
They introduced the elevators.
Oh yeah. Well, that's definitely putting them on excellent rather than fantastic for me.
All right, well, the Big Apple, that's basically where we really are right now.
Yeah. I'm probably going to say either laudable or excellent. I mean,
I'll note that the thing about, like, the Big Apple is it's basically got 3 bomb diffusion missions in it, so
yeah.
We've gone up from basically having, like, 1 in, like, the second chapter, 2 in, like, the third, now we have, like, 3 in the fourth.
Yeah. I would say excellent. I mean, like, it was a solid like a solid story arc overall. You had a few of the other elite enemy types introduced. Did you not? You had like the heavy machine gunner and the flamethrower and stuff, if I recall. No, you had a flamethrower. You didn't have the elite heavy machine gunner yet.
I think with, like, chapter 4, the Big Apple, the only thing I really dislike about it is that it felt a little bit bland. Like, it's basically all about the decorum rather than anything else.
Wasn't the Big Apple also where you started to get like the sneaks, like the snitches and the
Nope, that's in Cartel. But it basically, like, the thing about Big Apple is that it wasn't really introducing a whole lot of, like, really new elements. It's basically just, like, heavy armor enemies, basically.
Yeah, true. Oh, because you got the guys in black that had the submachine guns that opened doors.
That's also in Cartel territory.
Is it? Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I'm going to say, like, the Big Apple is basically sort of like, a carryover chapter.
Yeah. So
I mean, the missions were basically, like, maybe... Well, I'm going to say it's laudable. The thing with the Big Apple is that it's not really doing anything really new or interesting.
Yeah.
It's just giving, like, guys armor, and that's basically all it does.
I mean, now that I think about it, I think I will put Red Alert back up to Fantastic, because as much as I disliked how the boss mobs were introduced, it still was actually a fairly good map overall.
It at least introduced the boss enemy to actually fight.
Yeah. So, Cartel territory. This is where we start to get a lot of the sort of more elite troops. We get a lot more arrest warrants as well, if I recall.
Cartel territory basically has 3 arrest warrants in it.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, 1 in basically, like, the Big Apple. There's none in, like, chapter 3.
So this is basically, so this is where the arrest warrants really start to kick off. We get the dogs. We get sort of like the revolver carrying goons, which are the upgrade to the white shirts. We get the snitches. You get a lot of the more heavy machine gunner users. You get a lot more upgraded elite enemies.
You know what's good about Cartel territory? There's only 4 hostage missions.
Yeah. And the maps look quite pretty as well, to be honest. It's a nice color. If you look at the picture at the bottom that shows the maps, the actual like color palette is a lot more brighter in Cartel. It goes from being like drab grey to being quite bright and colorful, which is nice.
There's just one thing to note basically about chapter 5.
Flying
high.
Yeah, that really, I will admit, that spoilt the chapter for me. I really hate that mission.
I mean, if you're trying to triple start, yeah, it's gonna be annoying.
Yeah, I hate it because it makes you feel that the developers were deliberately trying to make it sort of nearly impossible to get full stars, because the closer you get to the front of the plane, the more enemies that you have to have really quick reactions with. Like you have like a kidnapper, an executioner, and then you have the suicide vest detonator alongside another kidnapper in the back who will shoot as soon as you get too close. And they all pop out at the same time, and we only 3-starred it, I think, because we got lucky and the bomb vest person ran down half the length of the plane towards us.
And so we managed to get rid of him, yes.
Yeah, so we managed to basically defuse her before he became a real issue. And then we basically smoked that end of the plane and basically rifle butted everybody else to death as they came out through the door.
Anyways, the thing about Chapter 5 is this is the one where it basically introduces snitches and, like, the guys who basically run through the doors.
Yeah, so there was lots of really nice elements, and the maps were nice to look at and were pretty. But
I'm also pretty sure this is the one that introduces the dogs as well.
Yeah, it is, because you can see the dogs on the screen. But man, did that final mission leave a bad taste in my mouth. I'd probably say B. I'd either say B or A. But like the plane really brings the chapter down for me.
I'd probably say it's A, just because they are at least introducing new elements to it. It's just one bad chapter in there, or one mission in the chapter.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that. Now we have the challenge runs. I think I'm
going to say the challenges are probably an easy S tier. Just for a simple fact that, like, it's basically like the cream of the crop for the missions, right? So.
I mean, yeah. I'd probably say A myself. Like, I'm not a massive fan of the challenges, but I can see what they're doing. It's basically a skill-based thing. If you're willing to do the skill-based challenges, like, I can understand the appeal to them, because it's like, okay, complete this level with Fergie, and it's going to be hard to complete the level with Fergie because they always send in characters that aren't suited for the mission type.
Well, I'm going to say that because I actually played through with one of Recon, and it's like, I actually found out that this actually is fairly beneficial to Recon, because it's actually silent and deadly, so to speak, and they're actually have all of their backs turned.
No, that's not bad then. I mean, I found the challenges a bit frustrating, but that's just me. I'm not a huge challenge mode kind of guy. But I'd probably say A myself, but you're probably going to want to put an S.
Yeah, and I also know something as well, by the way. Graveyard Surprise.
Yeah, actually, that is a good point. The zombies pop up in the challenge mode there, don't they?
Yep. So basically, the zombies were only really found in the challenges chapter.
Yeah.
Basically, the one I basically have highlighted on my screen here, Graveyard Surprise, is where you have a very long level of lots of zombies to basically fight.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably say it's an excellent one. I won't put it S because I'm not a massive challenge fan in games myself.
It's also the other train mission one as well.
Yeah, that one as well.
The one with zombies on it.
Yeah. Okay, then we've got King of the Shams, or King of the Slums. I don't know how I feel about that arc.
I know. I'm gonna say it's D, deficient.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of some of the maps are just unpleasant to play through. They're really sort of turn overhead, and the introduction.
Hey, look, we have 80 knife wielders ready to fight.
Yeah, 80 knife wielders, or the enemy that basically just regens constantly, which is not
the boss. Yeah,
he's not fun to fight. The other elite, the other boss mobs are fun to fight. He's just tedious because he does tons of damage at close range, and he has a revolver that's really powerful, and he just spawn heals himself constantly.
Mm.
And if you're not playing a class that's got good damage output, he just you can't sort of fight him and back off. You have to constantly keep the pressure on him, otherwise he just keeps going.
Yep.
I mean, he wouldn't have been so bad if he only healed up to a percentage of his health bar, but he can re-heal all the way, which is not great in my opinion.
I think that the biggest problem with like King of Slums is the fact that like all the like the levels based in there, a lot of them are basically like not really well designed.
Nah. Lots of spawning enemies as well. Like lots of that was Kings of the Slums was when we started to really get the whole entire floors with spawning doors. It's like every room had like 2 spawning doors, and they just popped out constantly.
Yeah, it's just one mission in a chapter, but
Yeah.
still, I mean, there's a bunch of missions in there where it's like you have like the boss fight, as you said, with like the knife wielding guy, and like if you don't have the firepower to take him on, then he's a really issue. I actually found if you play that with a shield, you can't actually beat him because shield doesn't have the DPS to take him down.
I also found like the King of the Slums is also the one where we had like multiple arrest warrant targets on maps, and it was frustrating because like you try and go and get him, and the enemies would be like spawning in and coming up from below, which was really frustrating. Because that
I will note that there's one thing I like about King of Slums, and the fact that they basically have a sort of balanced like mission set. They have like 2 bomb disposal. They have like 2 clear all. They have 2 arrest. The rest are hostage.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a flawed sort of gem, which was like the premise was interesting, but the way they sort of executed it was just lacking in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Plus, like a lot of the rooms were sort of like small, and like you'd have a hostage in the room with like 3 or 4 enemies, and it was really easy just to like hit a hostage because the enemies would be all going for you, and if you were using any kind of advanced weapon, like leveled up weapon, it was really easy to kill a hostage. Especially with the amount of like melee people that came at them, because you'd open a door and it'd be a hostage taker, a knife wielder, and like a couple of dogs. And as you were putting down the knife and the dogs, the hostage kidnapper or hostage executioner would kill the hostage. So
yeah,
it was one of those trying to prioritize which target without dying was always really annoying on King of the Slums.
All right, well, that's basically the main game basically covered.
Yeah, and then we have the
now
DLC.
for the DLC chapter. So, Professionals Abroad.
I'd probably say I don't think it's terrible, but I'd probably put it either a C or D category myself.
Yeah, the thing about Professionals Abroad, there's basically 3 major problems I think I have of it. One is the fact that basically some of the levels were not really well designed, kind of like King of Slums. There's basically disconnected like ladders from like ledges. There's basically like sort of confusing layouts and like how to get through it.
And they were so big, which really made it more impactful when they were badly designed.
That's the second issue. Basically, they're like very long to complete and arduous to go through.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the previous maps, most of the maps we did up until King of the Slums were between sort of 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how far you went in and how tactical you were. Professionals Abroad easily was always 7 minutes or higher, like 7, 8, 9 minutes, which doesn't sound a lot unless you have to replay the map, and then it becomes a real sort of time sink because you have to not kill any of the 30 like plus hostages. Well, not that much, but it was like always like 25 or more hostages on a map, and like 70 plus enemies, and that was when they started to have the attack choppers turning up as well, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's a DLC thing, the attack chopper.
Yeah.
But that's also something basically good to say about DLC. It did introduce a lot of new elements all at once.
Yeah.
You basically had the attack choppers, as Cornish mentioned. You also have a new damaging type of enemy like sniper that he's a little bit inaccurate, but he does a lot of damage if he hits you.
Yeah, you had the heavy machine gun. Well, you had the light machine gun wielding enemies with the explosive vests. Yeah. One thing I would say though that would be a negative against it is that the new hostage types that they put on the map really needed to be a different color.
Yeah, they blended too much into the background.
Yeah, they were not. When you kicked open the door, it was really hard to differentiate between them and some of the other enemies that were dressed in a similar color scheme.
That's also probably something else to know as well. There's a lot more cover basically in Professional's DLC, and
Yeah.
you use it a lot, and like it's causing us issues as well.
Yeah, the enemy AI seemed to have been tweaked that a lot of the time, all the enemies would go to cover, and it was really hard to tell which items were usable for cover. The enemy AI always knew what it was, but you, the player, didn't know which things were cover or not.
I think I'd say it's probably a C mediocre because, I mean, it's got some good stuff to it, but it's also got a lot of bad to it.
Yeah, I personally think it's I think it's high D, low C myself. As much as the nice things were added, I found the DLC to be like a bit of a slog, to be honest, to go through. Especially with how long the missions were and just how sort of convoluted and backpedaling you had to do a lot of the time. I would have really not liked to have tried to get a perfect score on Professionals.
I did, but it wasn't fun, really.
No.
I mean, I'll note that basically there was some degree of easiness to it as well, because obviously they're long levels, they don't want to make it too tough, but when you screwed up, you had to take 3 minutes to get back to where you basically screwed up, or 4 minutes or 5 minutes.
Yeah. So that's our ratings for the different story arcs, folks. Overall, from the looking at it, like the first 2/3 of the game are actually really, really good. It's just the final sort of quarter of the game. I actually said, yeah, the first 3/4 of the game are fairly good overall, with only a couple of sort of slightly better than average sections. But the ending quarter of the game seems to be where the game sort of takes a bit of a nosedive. In my opinion, anyway.
Also, probably worth knowing as well, there's basically 3 bomb defusals in the DLC. There's 4 rest ones.
Yeah.
There's only 1 clear all. Technically 2 if you want to be technical, but whatever.
Yeah. But yes.
All right. Well, that's basically all the
maps.
What do you call it? Missions.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the characters we play with.
Yeah, probably. I would say I've played most of the classes. The only class I didn't really play with 2 classes I didn't really play was Fergie and Recon, but I saw you play enough of them to get an opinion. I really liked for A class tier. I really think that Off-Duty Cop is he's really good. Even in the late game, if in co-op, Off-Duty Cop is really powerful because he just floors all the weak enemies that spawn constantly. And if you do an aim shot, he can still take down a lot of the heavy armored enemies as well, just not the really elite ones.
I was currently editing this guy's list. I'll not just list that with the squad characters. I didn't actually make this one.
Okay.
So someone else made this one. Anyhow, I basically reorganized the list myself. So I basically have an A, S, A, B, C, D, F tier for this one.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Off Duty is probably at an A tier class hero.
Yeah.
Just because he has the thing about Off Duty guys is actually he's a gimmick character, but he's also a very interesting gimmick character.
Yeah, he is. He's powerful as well.
He is powerful until you get really strong AP enemies or something like that.
Yeah, but that only turns up and what we saw from playing was that as long as you combined him with a good character in co-op, he could still really carry his weight.
Yeah. So and just sort of going into the game here to show off what Off-Duty guy basically has going for him. So it's worth noting that this guy basically has only a few weapons, but they're all really good weapons.
Yeah. I mean, his specials aren't anything to really go talk home about, and his character abilities, some of them aren't great, but overall, he's actually. I put him because I'm still using the A to D setup for the tier system that I've got, so I'm putting him in A category.
Let's talk about the Assaulter, I think.
Yeah.
As a basic grunt goes, he's not that bad.
It's not bad. He's nothing spectacular, but he has a bit of everything. He's also good when you start running into AP enemies where you need armor penetration. Um, he's actually the most tactically flexible I found because of how his personal skills interact with flashbangs.
Yep.
He means that if you need to be more tactical and controlling of the battlefield, he's really good. He just suffers on damage output, I find. Like he
The thing
doesn't.
I've actually found about the Assaulter is that he's just like a little bit boring to play.
Yeah, he's a bit boring. He's practical, but he doesn't. Like my main issue is that he doesn't quite clear the room as quickly as you want. And his top tier guns aren't that accurate. And have a lot of recoil for some reason. So I'd probably say, since I'm doing an A to D, I'd probably say sort of like he's a C rank character. He's practical, he's good for a lot of situations, but he's not sort of anything to talk home about.
Yeah, I'd say he's pretty much mediocre tier.
Yeah. Good with other characters, good on his own.
Yep.
Let's talk next, the Breacher. Yeah, I gotta say, dude, I'm gonna put Breacher in the A category. He's fun to play. Like he isn't great for when you have to save people, because you have to be really sort of careful of how you play. You have to kick enemies away from people and use flashbangs and the like. But he's still like when you have to clear a room or clear a level, like the Breacher just like does it every single day. Like he can
yeah,
just,
we saw how fast basically I was going compared to you.
yeah. Really good combination with the off-duty cop, because if you have a player who's a bit more trigger controlled, you can use the Breacher to clear out a lot of the sort of just full of enemy rooms, and the off cop can deal with the more nuanced side of things.
Yeah, looking at the Breacher myself, I think like there's only like two major problems with him, is that's the fact like he can't really deal with hostages, so you really can't bring him on those missions very easily. But the second like problem I think I have him is the fact that his ultimate's just like kind of boring as well. Like he has a Breacher Saw, but why would you bother like using it? He has Dragon's Breath, but why?
Yeah. And he has something else. He has three, doesn't he? He has Breacher Saw, Flame.
He has free Sniper Support is the third one.
Yeah, like that's the only issue I have with him, is that he's a really effective hammer, but the problem is if you're using a hammer all the time, everything looks like a nail. So we saw from doing like the Infinity Tower, which is that it's really, you become almost sort of hair trigger when it comes to using the Breacher. Like you open a door, and if you're not careful, you just like kill everything in the room, especially at the higher levels of the character, where his pellets and his shot really penetrate and go through multiple targets.
I think the easiest way of saying about Breach is that he's fun to play, but he's not very effective.
No, I like if we're rating characters on like how good they are to play, he's A, but on a sort of tactical ability, he definitely comes down to like a B class. Because, like you said, if you don't have a backup character with you, he becomes nearly impossible to do hostage rescue, because you have to be so careful with having to like stun enemies, kick them away from people. And then even if you do that and you fire a pellet at someone, it goes through them and hits the person behind and really easily kills them because they do so much damage.
Alright, who to talk about next?
Probably Fergie. That's who I've got next on my list.
Alright, well, let's see here. She's the pistol using, chick.
Yeah. I didn't play her, but because I was just trying to get through the campaign. But from seeing you play her, I wasn't that impressed. She has problems getting doors open. None of her pistols are that powerful.
She lacks sniper support.
She lacks sniper support, which is a major turn off for the character, because it is literally the best special in the game. I don't really know how, because when you play her, it feels more like you're supposed to involve yourself in cover and dodging a lot more than
Yeah.
than the other characters. But the problem is, if you do that and they have hostages, the hostages get killed. So
Yep.
I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to complete some of the later missions with her, to be honest, in single player.
I think she's probably the lowest tier.
Yeah. She seems more like a skill challenge than an actual sort of proper character to play through the campaign with.
Well, that's probably to be like expected because there is like difficulties attached to these guys. So
Yeah.
I'll note that Assaulter's easy, Breacher's LOL, Shield is medium, Agent Fergie's hard, Recon's medium, Off-Duty Guy's medium.
Yeah. I mean, but like I've just found Fergie to be sort of a bit of like a wet towel of a character, like a wet squib. See, none of her stuff was basically good. Like her weapons weren't great, and it felt more like you were relying more on sort of like RNG to sort of get through some of the encounters if you were playing single player with her than it would be otherwise.
All right, Sheila Recon.
Probably Shielder, because Shielder for me is straight out like a B class. Like he's really good. They're really good character. Like really good combo character of a lot of other classes as well. Like he works well with assault, with off duty, with I wouldn't say with recon, but he works really well with breacher as well. Only downside I have about Shielder from playing him and seeing you play him, he lacks firepower.
That's the one issue, but I mean, she's offensive, not offensive.
No.
So that's to be expected.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with that is that, as you said, there's certain maps where there are enemies that the Shielder cannot beat on his own. Certain enemy and boss types that make it either really hard or impossible to beat. So
now, I will actually say though that even despite all those weaknesses, I do consider Shield class to be like the S tier class in this game.
Yeah.
Just for the simple fact that because she has like that luxury of the big shield, she can actually start planning out how to basically gauge a room.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Like, it's a toss up for me between B and A class. I probably put them in A class because tactically they're so useful in combination with other characters and on their own. That it probably sways me to that category.
Yeah, who remembers when I basically took Shield alone against the the big guy at the revolver who goes on his foot.
Yeah. I mean that shows you how good they are, especially higher end with the more better equipment and skills. Now we come to Recon.
Recon.
Yeah, Recon is a weird class for me. They're, from what I've seen, they're really a co-op class rather than a solo class.
You can play them solo, it's not very effective.
No, like I think they have like out of the entire game, they probably have the weakest weapons.
Well, the thing about the Recon character is that he's got some machine guns, and they've only got half the range of everyone else.
Yeah, and they don't really have great AP, and they don't do a ton of damage.
No.
But what he basically lacks in damage output, he has really powerful versatility when it comes to figuring out where you are on the map and what you're facing. Like if you're on the later levels, if we were trying to go full star on all the missions, we'd probably have to have taken Recon. Just so that we knew exactly, because all the rooms were dark. As you get further into the game, you have less and less visibility on the map, and having a character that can actually see what you're doing is really, really useful.
I think in regards to Recon, he is sort of useful, cooperatively, but
yeah,
by himself, he's just a little bit weak.
Yeah,
I mean, his spy cameras can give him a sort of jump on what the enemies are basically doing and stuff like that, but
yeah,
that's really all he really has going for him. He does have very good armor, though. I will say that about him. He's a little bit faster than the other characters because his radar armor basically is doesn't have speed detriment attached to it.
Yeah, So I think like he's probably like a C class then. Like he's the same as a Soto, which is that
Well, I'd say he's weaker than a Salter.
better than a Soto. Yeah, okay, maybe B then. Which is that in co-op he's really powerful because he can work with pretty much every character to make the run much more successful and more likely to succeed without you having to memorize the maps.
I'd say he's probably weaker than a Salter actually myself.
Yeah.
The thing about Recon is that, like, yes, you could basically bring him like with like other like characters, but would you be better off using other characters in co-op is a thing, right? So
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I'd say D then. He's very he's and even then, like as you said, his equipment, which is like he's primarily a support character. Even then, his support equipment, you're really only taking him for his ability to like his item that allows him to look into other rooms. You're not taking him for the sensor balls or whatever he sort of has as his class sort of special gimmicks. You're taking him purely for the sort of ability to scout ahead. And even his specials aren't that great. Like you get basically like a sniper rifle, which I wasn't that impressed with.
I found out that basically the thing about that marksman rifle is that it's basically got very good AP penetration, but you have to basically like wait like a second for it to basically like fully charge.
So it's basically an anti-boss gun.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
You can also basically sort of like hit like targets that are basically not necessarily in your line of view as well, but it's not a very big line of sight. So
no, that's too much of a drawback to have something like that when you can have sniper support, which is just, if anything, I would say that sniper support is probably too powerful in this game. It makes all of the other abilities. It makes all the other abilities sort of half baked as a result. The only one that's slightly better, not better, but the only one that's slightly sort of like in counterbalance to sniper support is the sort of infinity Twinkie for the off-duty cop, just because it allows you to sort of eat it and get out of terrible situations,
or like survives terrible situations.
Yeah. So on my screen, I've got the three best classes to play are off-duty cop, breacher, and shielder, which were ironically the three that we tended to play the most throughout the campaign. And then we've got Assault as a solid middle class. I found that he sort of dropped off in efficiency the later we went into the game. So that's why I sort of stopped playing him and moved over to off-duty cop. Then we've got Recon, who's very sort of... he's really co-op minded, I think, as a character, and is pretty weak. So he doesn't carry his weight greatly in combat.
Yep.
And then at the bottom, that should be E. They've got two Ds. So that's right at the bottom.
At the very bottom, be Fergie.
Yeah, it's Fergie.
If they made like a Door Kickers Action Squad 2 and they have like maybe 4 players, and they have like this like sort of setup again, I think Recon would actually shine a lot better because in a 4-man team you'd be a lot stronger.
Yeah. This is the thing. Recon gets better the more players you have because it basically allows you to have more flexible roles. This like he's useful, but the other character ends up having to do a lot of the heavy lifting, especially when it comes to. We ended up doing a lot more tactical sniping, like the assisted sniping abilities when we had him, because his weapon wasn't guaranteed to put the enemies down quickly. So when we had to clear a room and there was like multiple hostages, we had to sort of save up our points to get the sort of assisted sniping ability, just to guarantee that we could kill everybody quickly.
All right, well that's basically how we rate the levels and the characters, I guess.
Yeah. And we've given our general overview of the game, but just to summarize, for me anyway, it's a good game. A nice way of passing the time if you don't want something that's very tactical.
You want to play with friends.
Then you want to play with friends as well, because Lord knows there's not a lot of good co-op games left anymore. On that note, we did have some connection issues.
Yeah, but that may have been due to internet rather than the game itself.
Yeah. But overall, I would solidly recommend this game. And I think the price for it is actually fairly reasonable. I can't remember exactly what it was now, but I didn't spend more than a couple of pounds on it. I think like £4 or £5 with discount.
Oh, we can always just look it up right away. So, Door Kickers, Action Squad, Steam. It's right now 75% off, so it's showing like, $5 for, just it.
Yeah. That's not a bad price, really, for a game that gives quite a lot of content. And if you're a completionist like the Fuax, or like the sort of more sort of skill-based tactical challenge, then it's probably a game you should pick up and play, to be honest.
Let's see here. How much does the DLC cost? And the DLC is basically like, well, the DLC is probably overpriced, but whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been our sort of like analysis and review for Door Kickers Action Squad. And I hope you all have a lovely Christmas and a Happy New Year, because by the time this video comes out, it's going to be like the 20. I think it's going to be like the 21st, 22nd of December.
From what I'm checking, I think it's going to be after Christmas or around it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So enjoy the holidays, folks, and hopefully keep an eye on our channels for all the stuff we have coming for the end of the year and like afterwards as well, because we always have lots of interesting things, interesting and quirky indie games and sort of retro games. As always,
maybe we'll play 7 Days to Die next.
Yep, 7 Days to Die. I've got a link in my description for Defux's channel, and I know that he's probably done the same in his videos for me.
Yep, you'll see a link for his video that he's making for this one right here.
Yep.
And my own video.
So if you enjoy our content, please check us out. Please like and subscribe and press the bell button, because YouTube is not very kind to small creators these days. So thank you very much, and have a lovely day.
Take care, all. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now.